Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars turn on. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. When I hold you close. The stars turn on.
Hello and welcome to Season 4, Episode 16 of The Press Box, in association with The Unit. So after a special episode with Jim Magilton and Stephen McDonnell last week, we're back to normal this week, but unfortunately away results are too, as Dundalk went down 1-0 against tabletopper Shelbourne at Tolka Park last Friday. A defeat which leaves us bottom of the table on goal difference once again. This week sees the return of Thursday night football to Oriel Park with Sligo Rovers the visitors. We're going to be looking ahead to that game, which is actually the last game before the mid-season break. But first, we better go back to Friday night where, ironically, one of our old players, John Martin, got a winner against us and kind of kept Damien Duff's team kind of going towards the title, and sadly us going at the opposite end. But firstly, actually, I have to say, give a shout out to Adrian Taft, because I watched that on LOI TV, and the commentary is absolutely, it's not even appalling. It's just so biased that like you're actually sitting there going, come on, man, like do some sort of research on Dundalk or talk about like he was, I can't remember the exact term, but it was like he was calling O'Kane something else as well. Like it was similar to Kane. I can't remember it, but I remember being like, that's not even his name and all these things. And but like, whereas I have to say, Adrian and the boys, when you do listen to them, it's just like listening to like a Premier League game or something that's well, bar from Neville and Carragher, but it's unbiased and it's just informative. But I have to say, yeah, the boys on LOI TV, it was just a very pro Shelbourne game, but that didn't change the result because ultimately we kind of went for a low block, wanted the draw, didn't go for it, and sadly lost. So ultimately, in my opinion, we also kind of deserved everything we got.
Yeah, look, just on the commentary, I've always sort of said that like I'm a firm believer that even though you're commentating on your local club quite often, I actually don't know who does the commentary in Shels, to be honest, but I know in other clubs like they're fans that are doing it, and fair play to them. But like if you take, like we're playing Sligo on Thursday night, how many's going to travel from Sligo on a Thursday where you've perhaps worked the next day, school, college, whatever it is. It's difficult. So and I'm not naive enough to say there won't be Dundalk fans tuning in at home and abroad. There will, of course, but like effectively your majority of your audience is the away section. So yeah, I think I've only actually done I've done quite a lot of radio commentary with Adrian, but I think I've only actually done one LOI TV game, and it was a Rovers match, and at the start of last season where they hadn't won yet, and you're sort of focusing on that a lot more than you are actual Dundalk. So yeah, there is lessons to be learned in that. I did see a number of people maybe giving out a little bit about that, both on Friday and in previous games. So yeah, look, I think we're fortunate enough in Loud, I would say, because I know David Sheehan does a really good job up at Drogheda as well, that they're kind of pros at it, and they do go that extra sort of few percent. But look, I'm sure it's a media in general, it's a funny game. I'm sure there's critics of theirs as well, but I'm sure Adrian will appreciate that. Yeah, and I'd say it's easy to be maybe unbiased for him when he's a Drogheda fan at heart, but only slagging. But yeah, no, Friday was this is not something I was looking forward to, because it wasn't a great game, wasn't a great spectacle. Like one shot on target, and it proves to be the decisive one for John Martin. Again, not one to be massively excited about. I think, look, they had probably the pick of the chances. I know Daryl Horgan did brilliantly well to get back when they broke in the first half, took the ball off the toe of Evan Caffrey. I think obviously Jarvis had a big chance himself when Martin put him through about 10 minutes before half time and just couldn't hit the target. I think we did try and be a bit more expansive in the second half when we took Anna Masahun off, put Robbie Benson in, and ironically, we were probably just getting on top a little bit from an attacking sense just when they got their goal. But look, in one ways, like it was a tough watch, but I don't know if we necessarily set up for the point or whether it was just like we are literally down to the bare bones at the moment. I don't know how he goes a lot differently in terms of his, it's not like we've,
I do
if you look
accept
at,
that, but from a watching a perspective, it definitely looked like that. But also, like, so you can go in here now because Monroe obviously pulling up in the warm up is a mess. So we've Malloy coming in for his league debut. We also lost Gullen, who was kind of our man.
Zach Bradshaw as well was away on compassionate leave, which is, it is a blow in terms of your
So I
setup
do
as
get
well.
that, and there's a lot going on there. But I also do think looking at it like as everybody says about this league. Now, again, I think you have to give credit to Shelbourne. They are always well set up and they are a decent team. But like you can, even though we're bottom of the league, there's nobody that I look at and think we can't go at. We couldn't put them under pressure and stuff. And I never felt we kind of stepped up. Now, you are right. If we're down to bare bones, maybe it's hard or there's confidence. Maybe the defenders now weren't pushing up as high due to maybe worrying about Malloy and stuff. I get all that. So, but I just thought there was potentially something there. I think we did play for the draw, and I think with the injuries, maybe Jon Daly would say, yeah, if I had got a point away to the league leaders, that's a good point from a guy's bottom of the league. But people always say, like, about, you reference City and Burnley going at each other. Like, it's not that bottom of the table to top. Like, and that's where I just think at times for us, ultimately, to start getting out of this, and maybe Shelbourne isn't the game that we're going to stay up or get into ninth or eighth, but like, yeah, we definitely have to be on a bit more of the front foot because Sligo are coming now on Thursday, and we still have these injuries. Yeah, you know what I mean. So like we're at home, so we still need to push on, and that's the only kind of criticism I have because I think we are down to bare bones. There is a lot going on behind the scenes, but there was potentially more there, and at some stage, I think that the ultimate point I'm making is at some stage we're gonna need to start picking up 3 or 4 wins in a row, and now we're in mid-June, and it's just like kind of like okay, and maybe the Sligo is the start of that and stuff, and I get that because we did have a nice period there with the Pats win, etc., and drew the game before, so Daly's come in and done well, but I don't think we can kind of go to anybody and sit back now. I think the shackles need to come off a tiny bit to say, well, we're either going to go down anyway or we start going at boys, and I think he's going to need to start doing that, but ultimately we do need to start winning 3 or 4 games in a row at some stage if we're even to come 8 and have no fear of relegation.
Yeah, but look, it's fine margins as well, and I'm not going to sit here and say we were brilliant or anything the other night, but to get one shot on target to score it, we have a chance like 2-3 minutes after that. Owen Kenny rattles the crossbar. If that goes in, you're coming away with a slightly different complexion. If the game's still the same, it's not entertaining, whatever, but you're saying, geez, that's a good point away from home against the league leaders. So fine margins, and that's a team that like I think that Gullen gone off was a big blow because he's coming into it like he had a really good game. We obviously, just in the nature of our show last week, probably didn't overly get to discuss the Pats match, but like he had a really good performance there. Obviously got his 2 goals. And you're thinking, right, go build on this now. Like, because even I know the reference, I think I did mention it last week that he nearly, while the free kick is probably goal of the month sewn up already, and we're only, at that stage we were only 3 days into the month, but like he nearly preferred the second one because it was from open play, and it was something that was sort of eluding him, and you're thinking, yeah, now that you have that monkey off your back, go build on it. And to be fair, he was decent in the early period, like he was putting himself about, and then look, I think he was a bit like Jesus on the cross. He went down 3 times before he was taken off. So look, when it's not going for you, it's not going for you. But like, there's also an element of the fact that maybe we don't judge ourselves against the Shelbournes of the world. It's not going to be maybe results at Tolka Park that keeps us up. What I would say, and I did want to focus on this maybe last week, had we maybe delved into it a bit more. Our record in Dublin in general badly needs to improve. So like, I made the point last week. So between our last win away to Pats in May 2021, ironically when Jim Magilton was still in charge, to right up to the other night against Shelbourne, we've played 25 times in Dublin. We've won 4, we've drawn 6, we've lost 15. It's too many. And of those 4 wins, okay, the Pats one was a decent one. 2 of them are against UCD, who are no longer in the division. And even 2 is probably a poor return, with all due respect to them, because they were by far and away one of the weaker teams in the league. And the other one was a win away. You come back to August 2022 in Bohemians in Dalymount, where it's a Ty Grine own goal that wins it for you. Now, look, you take that right now, but given the percentage of matches that take place in Dublin, you can't have a record like that.
Yeah.
And it's not an excuse. Like, it's not like you're not going to Cork or Kerry or somewhere and sitting for hours on a bus where you can say, oh, well, we were, we didn't have the right prep or whatever. It's an hour up the road. Some of the players even live in Dublin. And whatever that sort of mental block. Now, listen, that's maybe an historical problem in that, look, Jon Daly, in terms of his Dublin record, well, he's won 1, lost 1. And like I say, fine margins. Maybe we could have got out of Tolka with a point. But improving on that sort of thing is going to be absolutely crucial in terms of picking up the little points here and there that we need to sort of get out of this, because it wasn't like we were massively outplayed the other night. Yeah, listen, if it was a boxing match, Shels probably deserve it on points, but we had a lot of games like that ourselves, maybe at home, where you think back to, and again, it's not something we reflected on, but the Derry match, which was the last game in Oriel, again, 0-0. But I think if that's a boxing match, I think we get the points, and you could go back the same, probably the last time we played Shelbourne and Oriel and a few other games. So
but sometimes
we still
that
have a
change, and I get you.
Yeah, and we do need to create more chances, and we do need to finish more chances. We were hoping, as I say, that the Pats game would be that sort of turning point. Like we've scored as many in Richmond Park this season as we have in Oriel Park. That's not good. That's not good. But that's what I'm saying. The Gullen injury was a blow in that regard, because he had just maybe had that monkey off his back. I'm sure confidence was up, and sometimes as a striker, that's what you need to come like buses. And look, maybe it's time, and I called for it maybe a couple of weeks ago, maybe it's time to throw Kenny in from the start, and look, to be fair to the youngster,
100%.
But he was doing his leaving cert. He's probably still doing his leaving cert, but like, I know it was Maths paper 1 or Maths paper 2 or whatever on Friday. So like, I think that finished at 4:30, and he's down to playing Tolka Park at, like, hypothetically, had we been playing like a Sligo away or something, he probably wouldn't have been able to make the game. But I do think, he's shown, even the other night, he hit the side netting before his big chance and stuff like that. He just offers you something a bit different, and a bit like, I remember when Ryan O'Kane came into the team, he was a bit of an unknown quantity in that, like, it's hard to do your homework on him, because, I think when there's a player playing like a percentage or a number of matches in the league, you can say, well, he likes, little trends. He likes to cut on to his right foot, or he checks back, or whatever. Every player has their little trends. Teams don't maybe know that about him quite yet. And look, he's something a bit different. I would like to see him up there with Gullen, because I think we played our best sort of attacking stuff when we've had 2 up top. We still don't know the nature of that Gullen injury, obviously, how bad it is, whether he'll miss Thursday or not. If he does miss Thursday, how many games does he miss? Maybe the break comes at a good time in that regard, just that, you have a 2-week gap then before the Waterford game at the end of the month. But certainly
down there, the Waterford.
It's here. So our next 2 matches are at home. And again, with the home record, you're thinking, Can we even if you got 4 points from the next 2 at home, it's probably a decent return. It would probably more than likely have you off the foot of the table. So that going into July and hopefully the window, and like the window is going to be difficult because I think everyone's looking to strengthen, from top to bottom. But we do need recruits, and hopefully we can get them in. But at the moment, it's a bit unfortunate, all the injuries, because even Benson coming off the bench the other night, he's probably not 100%. Mountney coming in again, probably not 100%. Not that they've done anything bad or anything. Don't take it that way. But I just mean that we really are low on options because and again, I don't know the extent of it, but Louis Ansley went away with Gibraltar last week, and he was away for the Pats game and the Shelbourne game, but did Gibraltar had a really good 0-0 result against Wales, and apparently he was outstanding in it, but then goes off with a suspected hamstring problem near the end. So you're thinking, right, can he come back and maybe be an asset to you as well? He's another option, and he's potentially injured. So obviously we'd Kieran McGuckin leaving this week. Scott High, I think, is as good as gone. So you're just you're down to sort of like if they're looking for, I know we're going to talk fundraisers later. Maybe you should do like a fundraiser. Highest bid gets a seat on the bench for the next few weeks or something, because it is that I think we didn't fulfill the bench even before Monroe pulled out. We hadn't filled the bench last week. I think Sean Keogh stepped up to it, but with Sean Malloy going into goal, we were still one light. So it is tight on numbers, and there's an element of maybe the breaks coming at a good time, just to maybe get a few bodies back, and even for people like someone like Dara Keane, who's still a few weeks away. Well, it's 2 weeks closer to his return date, etc. But I think Robbie Mahan and Cone Ostenbrink aren't apparently too far away. Whether to make this week or not, I don't know. But again, because you have that break, do you take maybe a chance that you wouldn't if you're playing week to week?
Yeah.
Put them in the squad. I don't know. That's all for Jon Daly to weigh up.
I do think with Owen Kenny, because I think a lot of it is actually just our attacking options and stuff, and actually putting away chances, minus the Pats game, let's say. But like, I think with Kenny, you're right, having different options and stuff, and he is a different type of player and a different style of player. He kind of he presses harder and kind of likes to come in off the wing as well, as you can see. But like the likes of Cammy, who's ultimately our second striker after Gullen, if Gullen's not fit, but like, he just doesn't offer that. If you know what I mean, he'll work so hard, and he's an honest player. But like, I don't see him getting, like, how many goals has Cammy got in for Dundalk? One, two,
One.
Like, why not roll the dice on another guy? And Cammy can come on and maybe shore things up. But I really at this stage would like to see, especially if Cullen's injured and you need somebody to lead the line. I do think Kenny is there, and I just think he could take his chances. Like, even I know it was a scrappy goal in preseason that he got, but he still got it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he's finishing things even when, like, for at one stage, was he like the only guy who scored an Oriel in like months or something, because of like I know it's preseason, but still, like, and I remember thinking, all right, but I think at the Sligo game, I see a reason. I don't see a reason, sorry, that Owen Kenny couldn't and shouldn't start. I think he's put himself forward. He's done well, and at some stage, like, let's roll the dice. Let's see what he's like. And ultimately, we're not scoring anyway. So even if we give him 3 guaranteed games, see how he is. See how he is. There's no, like, if we keep doing the same old thing and it not working and we go down, how do you know that Owen Kenny doesn't get 10 league goals? And in this, like, you just don't know. And I definitely would love to see it on a Thursday. Against Sligo, because I do think he excites people. He excites the crowd, the local element. There's no getting away from that as well. That helps as well. And I think ultimately at this stage, with things going the way they are, I think he just deserves it. I see a reason. I don't see a reason again, sorry, that he shouldn't play.
I think as well, having a manager like Jon Daly, who, look, you can get into quality debates and who's better, etc. But this is a manager who isn't afraid to put youth in that he did it at Pats. So if you look at Mason Mealy up top, Sam Curtis was a huge member of that back four last season. Now, look, maybe Sam Curtis was always destined for greatness, and that's not a hard decision to make. But, I think it's probably the easiest thing in the world when you're under a bit of pressure as a manager to just go with the tried and trusted, the experienced, etc. And sometimes, it's the young lad who, you throw him in at the deep end and, see does he sink or swim. But certainly, like if you're just reflecting back to Friday night, and no disrespect to Cammy, because he does give you, as you say, work rate and effort and all that, and definitely makes his contribution. But if you're looking at who's going to get you a goal, and you're saying, right, who you backing, Kenny or Elliott, it's Kenny, like, at this moment in time. And maybe, as I say, I think we work better with the sort of two up top, and maybe it's a case of to play together on Thursday. I'm presuming Gullen's out here, which hopefully he's not. But yeah, look, I think it's definitely something we need to look at sooner rather than later with him. And I know, right, maybe Friday wasn't the right time. Just on the base, he probably had a poor prep with literally doing his leaving cert, and he's probably enough on his plate. He probably missed the likes of meetings pre-game, that they would have had and stuff like that. And maybe that made up Jon Daly's mind on when Jamie was coming off, who to put in, Cammy or our own. But look, it's a home game on Thursday. I think everyone will be behind him from a Dundalk perspective. I think he'd be, like, if you could pick an outcome right now where Owen Kenny, I know it doesn't work this way, but Owen Kenny scores your winner, I think that's very popular. Like, puts everyone in good form going into the break. And yeah, at this moment in time, he's probably the most likely to get you a goal out, if Gullen's not available. Because, look, I think other people need to maybe step up in that regard too. And I'm not having a go with them here, but like, you look at, we're past the halfway point if you take it that play 20. Like, and I spoke to him about this, but like Daryl Horgan, for example, hasn't scored yet this season. Like, Daryl Horgan should be a player chipping in with a few goals. There's others. I'm not going to go through them all, but like, it's a poor return to with 12 goals in 20 matches. If you want to know why you're bottom of the table, that's a fairly damning stat just straight away.
Absolutely. Right. Well, before we look ahead to this Thursday's visit of Sligo Rovers to Oriel Park, let's hear from our main sponsors, The Unit.
Today's episode is powered by The Unit, experts in building innovative products for the betting, iGaming, and sports industries. They're the brains behind building innovative products tailored for those who love the game as much as we do. From software that powers up the betting world to platforms that enhance how we engage with our favourite sports, The Unit is leading the charge. The Unit, a winning team that reminds me of the Kenny era Dundalk in their consistency and results. Proud sponsors of the Press Box podcast. Learn more at theunit.dev.
Right, well, with the Euros starting now on Friday and the mid-season break coinciding with it, it's Thursday night football all round this week. So as well as Dundalk and Sligo and Oriel, also the following games are taking place. So, there's relevant games here. So like, Galway and Drogheda. So like Galway, I scored against us, but like they're not scoring a lot. They might even have less goals scored than us. And, I think it's a pivotal game. Like, I think if Drogheda went there and got a 0-0 and we're not getting a good result, or that could be a negative, but also in the sense of Drogheda go up there, Galway win 1-0 and we beat Sligo, things can kind of move as well. And, also, like, I know they're home, but Pat's playing Rovers. It's Waterford, Shelbourne, ourselves in Sligo, and Pat's and Rovers that night. But Jesus, Stephen Kenny has some job on his hands. Like, I actually looked like at the table, and you kind of never thought they were in bother or anything like that. But with the 2 games in hand and stuff like that, and Jesus, like, I have to say that, like, even Pats and Rovers there, that's a huge huge negative for Stephen if he goes and isn't kind of collecting points. And I know we don't want it, but even Drogheda, if they go and win, forgetting us, but if they go and beat Galway, I tell you what, Stephen Kenny and Garrett Keller are looking at his 5-year deal he's just given this lad, and I'd be like, Jesus Christ.
Well, it's how long it goes on, like, and that's why I think they're relevant fixtures. Like, to be fair to Galway, Eamon DC Park is not an easy place to go, and I think if they could do us a favour, beat Drogheda and even a point then against Sligo, maybe get you off the bottom going into the break, which is a nice psychological thing. But like, yeah, Rovers coming to Richmond Park isn't an easy game. The longer that sort of wait to sort of get going, I know he has a win, but it hasn't been a good start by Pats. Then you come back after the break. The first game back is Bows again in Richmond, but not an easy one. It's Dublin Derby. They're away to Waterford after that, and it just sort of
build, and he'll have Europe in the middle of that as well. So like,
Pat should be too good to go down or to be dragged into this, right? And I'm saying that, but momentum's a funny thing, like if you, like I'm making the point even about Sligo. Sligo have had a decent run of late. Like if you look at their recent form, like they'd actually taken 7 points from the previous 9. To probably unlucky not to win in the Brandywell. I know Derry were well on top of them, but it was still Derry getting the late equaliser. Then they went and they beat Shelbourne in Tolka and had a good win over Drogheda at home. So you're thinking 7 from 9, it's game changing. And all of a sudden they're up to 6, but they're only 9 points clear of us. So, they're coming into it. They had a bit of a heavy defeat themselves, 4-1 away to Waterford. We know what that's like themselves on Friday. But like all of a sudden, if you win, if you can go and beat them, the gap's 6 points with a lot of football still to be played. So it kind of drags them back into a little bit too, as much as they've been in the recent form guide, they've been quite decent. I do think it's sort of very important to go into the break on a sort of positive result, because
but they take the hand of us for a draw now. If they want to go sit back, keep the 9-point gap.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, and like, look, like it's just interesting because the one saving grace for us this season has been our home form. But like I laughed about it. So we've actually lost the same amount of games at home as the top 3 of Shelbourne, Derry, and Rovers, but yet we're bottom of the table.
Yeah.
And we've the worst home form in the league in terms of points gained. And that's from all the results, the draws, the 0-0s, etc. But like we've played everyone now at home and away, and I still maintain it. Look, we were at the league leaders on Friday night. No team has looked a class apart from us, apart from maybe Sligo in that March game. But I don't know how much that was their brilliance or our ineptitude or whatever. But if we can go in, because you don't want to dwell on it for 2 weeks, ideally. And I think even as a psychological thing, we can talk about transfer windows, etc. I think when you're maybe not bottom and you're trying to convince a player to come, I think it helps. And even from Jon Daly's perspective, like he can point to, if we get 3 points on Thursday, it's been a fairly decent start for him. I nearly, even though officially he was in charge, I nearly exclude the Galway game in terms of being a result of his, because he was literally only in the door. Didn't pick the team that night or anything. So he could say, well, look, since I've come in, it's been a decent start. We're confident we can get out of this. And it's an easier sell then to try and bring in players that you want and need. Whereas, and I just think getting off the bottom would be a nice break. And then you're sort of looking forward to that Waterford game after it as well. And there's a bit more buzz about the place. So I think it's a really pivotal game. I think sometimes it's a bit of a media cliche, this thing about revenge and all that, but like the 5-0 defeat in March should be on the players' mind, because of all teams that they should want to put things right against, it's Sligo, because that was, I think, the low point of the season without question, to be dismantled like that on your own home patch. And if anything, Sligo probably did us a favour that night where they were taking players off. The likes of Mata, who's still the last opposition player to score, and Oriel came off early. I think Chapman came off early, maybe Hartman as well. So it's something that should be in our mind. And then as well as that, Sligo have been, the team sort of responsible for getting the last two Pats managers to sack, because it was a defeat to Sligo that led to Tim Clancy obviously losing his job last year, and it was a defeat to Sligo, which was Jon Daly's last game in Pats as well. So they know that they're a team that shouldn't be taken lightly. But I also think they're similar to us in that they've already lost players. If you, like I mentioned, Mata there, Mata's already gone. He's since gone out on loan again to the A-League. But they're a team, I think, that like if you can win on Thursday, 6 points, the gap, I'd be confident that that's, with all due respect, I don't want to go as gung-ho as you on it and say that Sligo are definitely gone down, but I don't think they're safe either at this moment in time, and I don't think any of their fans will feel they're safe. So it's a big
great
one.
if we got it to 6 points and stuff, but I still feel no confidence in seeing us getting that run that I'm talking about, and that's where my fear is. I think, like, you're right. If we get to 6, and listen, I know bar, let's say the 5-0 defeat, but like, which just sounds stupid, but like, are we toe to toe with Sligo? Yes, that it is. It's a kick of a ball kind of thing in that sense. So, but it's about having that consistency and not having like the injury worries that we're having now as well. Like, and again, I know people were talking, oh, well, Jon Daly has all these lads lined up, and maybe he does, maybe he has lads, but like, are they lads ready to come in? Are they lads that'll know lads? Are they lads that can get going from the? You just don't know. Like, and it's
well, you'd want a crystal ball for all that. But what I would say is that if you look at it, like, so 3 of our next 4, and I know there's a break in between here. 3 of our next 4 are at home, and 3 of our next 4 at home are our next 3 at home. Sorry, is Sligo, Waterford, and Drogheda. Like, so, there's no one. I'm not saying you fear anyone in this league, but given our home form, given how tight we've been defensively, if you can find a little something, and look, maybe Owen Kenny is it, maybe like by the time we play Drogheda, for example, maybe we've a new striker, maybe we've 2 new strikers, I don't know. Look, the window's going to be pivotal for a lot of teams in terms of, everyone's looking for something. And someone, like, the nature of all this is someone will have a good window. Probably a few teams will have a bad window. Like, I go back to say, just because he was actually in Tolka the other night, but like 01-02, Gary Haylock came in and was transformative to Dundalk season. Now it was a little too late at that stage, but we won a cup, and he was immense. And I think any player from that era, I don't know, John Flanagan was part of that team, and we would always say it, had we got Gary Haylock in earlier, we'd have definitely stayed up. Now, the league was a bit different then, and the 3 went down that season. I think we went down with one of the highest points totals of any season either side of that, because again, there was extra gone down. But this year, as things stand right now, yes, we're bottom, but we're bottom on goal difference. So all we need to do is just be better than Drogheda. Forget about everyone else a minute between now and the finish, and you've at least a crack at a playoff.
And then you have to, like,
and I know you have to win that, but
that, and
but I think as well, like, and again, maybe we would discuss this a bit more last week had we reviewed the Pats game. I think what the Pats game gave was a bit of hope back, because I made the point that it came on the bank holiday Monday. The previous bank holiday Monday, like 4 weeks earlier, we had gone to Drogheda and lost a night, and I think a lot of people lost hope that night. Like, that we're going down, this is irretrievable, etc. A month on, you went and you had a win away that let's be honest, is rare, and you were off the bottom, and it just kind of gave that bit of hope back that, maybe we can get out of this. And like, I'm talking about a playoff here, but like, May bank holiday weekend, we lose to Drogheda. If I offer any Dundalk fan a playoff, he's taking the hand of me, and I think we shouldn't maybe be too greedy. Obviously, look, if you can find some form and claw your way up the table, look, Europe's going to be interesting as well. We don't really, well, we've Rovers away at the start of July. We don't really play many of the teams involved throughout July, but it can have an effect on the league as well, where maybe people get sidetracked. Like, I always remember like our 2016 team losing to the likes of Bray and Galway, you know, who would have been strugglers at that stage in and around Europe. So it's difficult, you know. Is there a few surprise results?
To be fair, there's
Again,
surprise results every week actually in this league. So yeah, it's
well, true, yeah. No, like no result maybe shocks you. Look, we're playing Sligo. We're playing Sligo. Obviously, like one of their most recent results was going to Tolka and winning. You know, who saw that coming? So,
yeah.
it's yeah, it's a topsy turvy league, but you know, I think we like to just reflect on, because there's a greater base of evidence now. I think, to be fair to Daly, he's had a decent start. You'd obviously want more points on the board, but you know, there's a bit of a defensive solidity there. I think he has got us creating a few more chances, albeit look, we didn't have it. Technically didn't have a shot on target the other night, but again, like I say, Owen Kenny's goal goes in, and the narrative's massively different. And we're probably talking about, can this lad go on and be our savior and be that, you know, 8 goal striker or whatever? Because that's probably all you need in this goal, like this league. If you've someone to get you 8 goals between now and the finish, at the bottom end of the table, that probably keeps you up. So, it's look, it's an interesting one. I think with as I say, with 3 of the next 4 at home, given your home record, given how defensively sound you've been, if you can sort of keep building in that way, it could be huge. But look, Thursday's a big game, and I think it's a big window coming up, because I think everyone's looking for whoever it is. Like we would discuss on the pod last week. I know Ben Wilson, for example, is someone we were looking at. I don't know if we'll get him or not. That remains to be seen. But like, maybe our little advantage is that we are close to the north. Can we start maybe looking for a bit of talent? Maybe you can't compete with your Larns or Linfields, but likes of a
That's what Jim was
Cliftonville.
saying, that they're just losing out on
Yeah, and
we can offer.
it's not obviously a market we probably would have looked at in our heyday, and certainly in the past. Like, if you go back to this, maybe the Setanta Cup era, there was a maybe deemed to be a gap, rightly or wrongly, between the two leagues, where the League of Ireland was deemed to be better and a different higher level, etc. But you know, it's going to be hard to get players from the Dublin direction. I think it's going to be hard to get players from, like, we will, but like, it's going to be hard to get players from the UK, because if I'm a player in a, say, League Two, League One, whatever academy right now, I'm probably looking for a crack at pre-season, and even if I am going to loan, I'm probably favouring a move within the UK, just because like our league is funny. Like, you know, barring a playoff, barring a cup final, our last game is the 1st of November away to Drogheda, and you can't play again till the 1st of January. So even if you have a blinder here in the dozen or so matches, you're sitting idle for 2 months then. Whereas that's you take it the Christmas period in being England, Scotland, it's hectic. So you're playing a lot of games. So it's a hard time to get people in. But like I say, in all these things, someone will get it right. Probably a few will get it wrong, and we just hope we get more right than wrong.
Yeah. We've just a few notes kind of before we wrap up. I know we want to talk about even next week's episode could be slightly different as well. But so the club are also hosting a walk and football initiative for older men aged 55 and over, even from Tuesday the 11th of June to July the 9th, from 11 a.m. to 12 noon in Oriel Park, with kind of tea and coffee afterwards. So if anybody does want to get involved in that, you can contact the club. Aoife Burns is looking after it. So she's aoife.burns@dundalkfc.com. I suppose a positive, we have to congratulate Zach Johnson. He's one of the 6 nominees for the SSE Electricity Soccer Writers Player of the Month for May. A good few lads also up for that as well, that he could struggle against. But I think, in fairness, that does kind of show you how maybe good we have been in the last maybe month as well. The club also, their Down syndrome team played their first ever event in the League of Ireland Down Syndrome Futsal Tournament in Gormanstown on Sunday. They advanced to the final after seeing off Bows 7-2, Wexford 5-2, and Cork 2-1 before beating Sligo 6-1 in the semis. Unfortunately, Finn Harps were 5-1 winners in the final, with Jamie Linden getting the Dundalk goal. I seen Greg Sligo was at that as well, so I'll just leave that there. But bookings are also now open for the 2024 Dundalk FC summer camps, which are going to run across 4 weeks in July and August. The camps are aimed at boys and girls between the age of 6 and 13, and the cost per child is €80. And again, I was watching that in my shop. The draw for the second round of the FA Cup away to draw so that's going to be the weekend ending July 21st, which is when you just see a lot of the kind of first division and non-league clubs. It kind of annoys you when you kind of get a derby. It's a good and bad thing. It'd be great to put them out, but also a tougher game. And also next Thursday is the Dundalk Golf Classic. So that's up in Dundalk Golf Club. There's still kind of green and tea sponsorship opportunities available. You can get on to Peter Halpin or Nita Whelan about that as well. So which brings us to next week's show. So again, some of us are swanning off away to Lanzarote, which means we won't be able to do something on the Tuesday. But what we are going to do is during
Feel free to walk away without me.
On the Thursday is obviously the Golf Classic. So there's going to be a few players, hopefully the likes of Jon Daly and stuff will be there, and even a few of the fans that are playing. We're going to try to get a word with a few of them. So I suppose you can give maybe more of an update on that, but it's kind of a bit of a different episode as well, that we can hopefully just get a few more people involved, because, you know, as I said, with no game as well, and there's maybe not that much to talk about, so it can just be something different in that sense.
Yeah, no, I just thought with obviously, look, win, lose, draw, whatever against Sligo, it's a long time to the next game, so maybe we'll take our break this side of it, and come back the following Tuesday week. I'm not sure what date that is, but the 20 something anyway, and we'll get a bit of a chat going on the Waterford game, previewing that, brief look back on the Sligo, which will be very old at that stage, but maybe a sort of review of where we are, and it's a chance with the Golf Classic on, because we're both playing and going to be involved, and I'm going to be up there for most of the day. Good just a chance to chat to people, maybe get a few fans' views in on the season to date and what needs to be done, and so we'll just mix it up about maybe a bit of a light-hearted episode, which I think we'll all need after the year to date. What else were you talking about there? Greg Soggett. Yeah, well, Greg Soggett is from Gormanston, so I don't think there's any conspiracy theory to him being at that, maybe. But the cup draw, I suppose, was one of those that I think we were all sort of hoping for, the likes of maybe Kerry away, and you end up with the nearest thing to a home game you could probably get, like just up the road. It won't be easy. We've actually never beaten them in the cup in their place. Did win a couple of replays following draws there, all right, but it's certainly not an easy place to go to. And then there's the added element of we played them the week before in the league as well, so it's sort of back-to-back games against them, which can breed a bit of contempt. But look, the way the draw worked out, if you get through, and what we do know from the draws, at least 3 Premier Division clubs are going out, with Bows getting Rovers and Derry getting Pats. So maybe it opens up to, because again, there will definitely be non-league teams in it, and maybe a cup run can give you something to look forward to. We're a funny team that I think, particularly at home, I don't think anyone will fancy coming to Oriel, given our defensive record. And like I say, it's a month away yet, so things could be a lot different then in terms of personnel and that. I know you mentioned Zach Johnson there being up for Player of the Month. He's someone that you desperately love to hang on to. He's obviously on loan from Sunderland, and has been immense. I think he's fully deserving of that award, whether he gets it or not. Like, as you say, he's up against stiff competition. Ed McGinty, Johnny Kenny, Dale Rooney, Maurice Nugent and Porrick Hammond, I think, are the other nominees. So whether he wins it or not remains to be seen, but a nice little honour for him, and hopefully something we can hold on to, because I think it's very, 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 very unlikely, to the point of not happening, that we'll keep Zach Bradshaw. So that's a blow, so look, we'll see what the story is.
Right. Well, normally we actually bring you an underage update in association with Jerry McNamee Consultants each week, but due to the exams, there was actually no fixtures last week and none for this weekend either. So we're going to leave it there for you this week on the press box. We're going to thank our main sponsors, the unit, as well as associate sponsors, Player Fit, Jerry McNamee Consultants, and Malone Financial Services. Again, if anybody wants to subscribe to our YouTube channel, we've launched each episode now on YouTube as well. So that's in association with Mullins on the Castletown Road. So we're going to hope for a terrific Thursday against Sligo and hopefully go into the break on a high. We'll talk to you next week.
Look how the stars turn on. Look how the stars